Shalom. Call Halayimla Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. The tabernacle of David, starting with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes, whom Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai will have mercy upon. I'm your brother Mata Zabath, reporter from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And what you see here on the screen is a pretty old video, but it has resurfaced again all over TikTok because we are in the time of the so-called white man who biblical nationality goes back to the Edomites. Is being exposed and is being made bare in these last days, which is one of many ways on how we can measure the time diligently within itself as pursuing to 2nd Esdras, the 9th chapter. And what you're going to witness here in this video is he's going to tell you the truth about who his people really are and how they not only hijacked the nationality of the true biblical Israelites, but he's also going to let you know who they truly are. And he's going to speak a little bit of prophecy. And we're going to take the things that he brings out and we're going to build upon them and bring them out through not only secular history, but also through biblical prophecy. So let's listen in closely. And I pray that this lesson is edifying.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. So the white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and just flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time that Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
So a lot has been said. So I'm gonna play it one more time so you can hear it clearly. Listen up.
So the white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and just flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time that Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
So there you have it. All right. And he said a whole lot. And it's beautiful because this, like I said, this is an old video, but it has resurfaced. All right. And as a matter of fact, the date shows there at the top, November 15, 2021. All right. So this is around during the time of DVOC. All right. The pandemic, if you know what I mean. So he said a whole lot right now. I'm going to play it again, but we're going to stop at certain parts and we're going to break down and go through some exact points of what he brings out.
So the white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and just flooded the world.
So that's the first thing. Yes, the so-called white man today, whose biblical name is Esau Edom. All right. And basically, to understand the times that we're in the world, you have to understand the prophecy. Now, the prophecy stated when you go to Genesis, the 27th chapter, all right, it started with Esau's blessing, which we're going to grab real quick. And I'm going to start at verse 38. It says, "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, because during this time, Jacob had got the blessing. He pretended to be his brother Esau, but through the spirit, it was set up that way, because you all have people that say, oh, Jacob stole the blessing. No, pursuant to Romans, the 9th chapter, all right, the Heavenly Father chose Jacob and hated Esau. So it was planned to go this way because Jacob was already set up to get the blessing. And you can get that in Genesis, the 25th chapter. But nevertheless, it goes on to say, verse 39, "And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above." All right, so they will have everything that the whole entire planet Earth has to offer. That's why they have the best places in the world. They have all the resources. They damn sure have the money. They own all the corporations. They own the media. Okay, they even have possession of the Holy Land today. All right, as pursuant to Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. All right, which we're going to get into a little bit later on. And it goes on to say, verse 40, "And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." And that happened because how they got, as he stated, they have spread across the four corners of the world. How did they get there? By their blessing through the sword. Okay. And so through the sword, all right, let's get a quick precept, because when did the Edomites first come into power? Right. Let's get First Maccabees chapter 1 and start at the top. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, has smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you trace the Macedonians, all right, they were known as the Agagites, which Agagites goes back to King Agag, who was of the king of the Amalekites. So it was of the tribe of the Edomites. OK, and the Amalekites are the chief tribe of the Edomites. So the Macedonians, indeed, they were Edomites. And we got, lessons going into that. If you want to see that breakdown, just, let me know in the comment section. The Lord's will, we can go through that breakdown. But nevertheless, verse 2, it says, "And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive." And that's speaking of his four generals, which were Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lacomeus, and Cassandras. Verse 7, "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place." Now here's the main point, verse 9. "And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth." So the Edomites, they first came into power under Alexander the Great, because according to the blessing, they was going to rule by the sword. They was going to have the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. And so through Alexander the Great, this is when they first came into the power. That's another reason why they'll always tell you, and they'll brag through history. They'll say history began with the Greeks. All right. They'll always talk a good game when it comes to Alexander the Macedonian. All right. But civilization wasn't started by the Greeks. The reason why they say that is because that's the first time they came into power. OK, so it says evils were multiplying the earth. And with those evils, what did they do? Let's get Micah. All right. Chapter 2. All right. Keeping it simple and basic. At verse 2, straight to the point, it says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And that's the reason why even to this day, you have a lot of countries rising up against this devil for what he's done, oppressing, colonizing, rob, rape, pillage, pilgrimage, you name it. He done done it. OK. And so right now they're basking in their glory because they believe, according to Psalms 49:11, it says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever and their dwelling places to all generations. And they call their lands after their own name. So essentially, when they started going around the four corners of the earth, all right, conquering where they've conquered, they started calling themselves after the lands of where they conquer. So that's why today, like you'll have, for instance, Americans, they call themselves Americans, which they took the land of the from the Northern Kingdom. They call themselves Canadians. They call themselves Australians. They call themselves Europeans, which the true Europeans are your Japhetic nations. All right. And so essentially, they've broken the law pursuant to Deuteronomy, the 19th chapter, where it talks about not moving your neighbor's land. This is Deuteronomy 19:14. It says, thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that Yahweh thy power giveth thee to possess it. But see, they went over and beyond. All right. And this is the reason why out of the 18 nations, the Edomites are promised no mercy. Even your top biblical scholars know that. Right. So that's how they got control of the world. Right. Let's continue.
Smothered culture, we smothered knowledge, we erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, I'm 100.
Right. And how did they rewrite it? Well, when you understand prophecy, let's go to Revelation, the 20th chapter, because see, they were known as the after the Greeks, they took over Japheth's land, and after the Greek Empire ruled, all right, Daniel prophesied you had the fourth beast, all right, and that fourth beast represented the ancient Roman Empire, which were indeed the Romans. OK, the Romans being Salakia, the Edomites. All right. And there's a book named The Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomite by William Beeston. Now, when you deal with prophecy, they had their rule. OK. And before we start here, let's actually get that in Revelation 13 chapter. Now, Revelation 13, and I'm going to start at 2. It says, in the beast, we'll start at the top. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Now, when John the Revelator saw the vision, he was on the Isle of Patmos, all right? And he saw in the sea this beast rised up, all right? Now, this beast having the 7 heads and the 10 horns, the 7 heads represents the 7 power structures that the Edomites ruled out of. So the first of it was the Greeks, all right, started with Alexander the Macedonian. Then you had the Romans, and then you had Germania Major, Germania Minor. Then you had the French. Then you had the Spanish, and then the last of 7, you had Great Britain. All right, so it was those 7 kingdoms that the Edomites ruled out of, or I should say those 7 government structures. OK, now the 10 crowns goes into today, which would be called NATO and the EU, which back then they had 10 vassal states. All right. They call them vassal states. Right. And going on, verse 2, it says, in the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Now, this is going into how they first came into power, because that leopard represented the Greeks, going back to Daniel, the 7th chapter. And I think roughly around the fifth or 6th verse, where it talks about the third beast being likened unto a leopard. Because when you look at Alexander, all right, for instance, go to Google real quick. He wore leopard skin. Let's see here. Alexander the Great wore leopard print, right? All right. So, yeah, there you go. All right. But he actually wore on his shoulder. Let me see if I can find it, get a better one. Salakia. All right. There's one of them. All right. He actually wore a leopard. All right. And let me see, get another one. Yeah, here's a better one. All right. So he actually wore leopard skin. All right. There you have it. So, so that's why it says that he was likened unto a leopard. All right. So going back to the scriptures. All right. So it says verse 2, Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, which represents Russia. All right. Because Russia is going to be the one to take this current system down. All right. The Lord is going to use the Russians, Gog, out of the land of Magog, which today is Russia, which today the Edomites rule out of, not rule out of, but they actually reside over in that region. That region used to belong to the true Japhetic nations. All right. So, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, represented Russia. And what's Russia's symbol? All right. When you type it in, all right, the bear. All right. You see that? Russia. Bear, the symbol of Russia, icon royalty. All right. That's their symbol. Then, all right, the bear. All right. And then it says back at Revelation 13:2, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion. All right. Which symbolizes what? Great Britain. All right. Because America came out of Great Britain. Right. When you type it in. All right. There you go. All right. Great Britain, that royal coat. All right. The royal coat of arms. All right. You see the lion there. All right. So that was their symbol. All right. So back at it again. Let me read it again one more time. Revelation 13:2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Started off with the Greeks. And his feet were as the feet of a bear. Talking about the Russians, because they're going to be the ones to bring down this current system. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Talking about Great Britain. It says, and the dragon gave him his power. The dragon represents in this context the ancient Roman Empire. And his seat and great authority. All right. And it says here, verse 3, and I saw, which is the main point, one of his heads, all right, as it were wounded to death. So out of the 7 heads, John saw one of the heads wounded. And that's speaking of the ancient Roman Empire. It says, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And how was it healed? Let's go to Revelation, the 20th chapter. All right. For precept must be upon precept. So now we're going to start at the top to find out how the Roman Empire was revived. How did it come back? Now, this is Revelation 20:1. It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Now, that angel really is Yahweh Shai, but also this is twofold, because it can also be likened to a man by the name of Septimius Severus, okay, which was a Jake. And he was one of many black Roman emperors of the East. All right. And he was responsible for taking down the ancient Roman Empire, what was left of it. All right. Now, when you go into Septimius Severus, his name Septimius Severus means cutter of the 7. All right. And that's spiritual. All right. And so that great chain also represents slavery. OK, because the Heavenly Father, through his son Yahweh Shai, took these devils down. All right. And, had to shut them up. All right. And that's why when you read Job, the 30th chapter, Job gives the breakdown of how they used to live. All right. A great movie you can watch is called Quest of Fire. All right. But verse 2, it says, and laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. All right. And this is speaking of the Byzantine Empire, because the Byzantine Empire. All right. It'll tell you, or the Dark Ages. All right. Here you go. So the medieval. Here you go. Yes, it says the Dark Ages, also known as the medieval era, lasted roughly 1,000 years. All right. Anybody can look this information up. OK, so we're going into history and we're linking it with biblical prophecy. All right. That's what we're supposed to do. So these devils, the Edomites, they were pushed up into the Caucasus Mountains, all right, for a 1,000-year period. And during this 1,000-year time, Jake was ruling. Our people was ruling in Europe. Okay. Now, verse 3, it says, and cast them into the bottomless pit, all right, situated over there in Europe, all right, because this is where all of this happened, and shut him up and set a seal upon him, all right. So they was pretty much, this is during the stage where the Lord brought them down to absolutely nothing, okay. They couldn't do nothing. Just like us Israelites, we've been taken out of our power. We can't do anything, okay. We're under the curses. So it says that he should deceive the nations no more, okay, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And now we're currently in that little season. All right. So jump down to verse 7, because this is how you have to read it to get the context and the understanding. So it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And how did he do that? All right. You have something that was called, we bring this out all the time, Moors versus the Wild Man tapestry. All right. So this is what happened. They came down from the Caucasus Mountains, and then you can see them. That's them on the left hand side. And then on the right hand side is, you know, our people trying to defend and fight them off. But see, it was our time to go down, and it was their time to come back into power, because what? Prophecy had to be fulfilled pertaining to Daniel, the 2nd chapter, the last leg of the Roman Empire. All right, the 10 toes. OK, and today we're at the end. All right, of the Iron Age of the ancient Roman Empire, which has been revived through America. OK, so now that you understand that, he's now loosed out of his prison. He's currently ruling. OK, as the scripture says, for Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Verse 8, pardon me, it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations. And this goes back to what he just said. OK, let me take it back a little bit. And how did he deceive the nations? Listen closely to what he said.
Our homes flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way.
Exactly. Rewrote it their way. And that's what it meant when it says deceive the nations. Because one, let's get Job 9:24. And it says this, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the scriptures is telling you that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Who is the wicked? Malachi 1:4, the Edomites. And what did he do when he came into power? Well, he said it. They whitewashed everything. They rewrote history. He covered the faces of the judges. Now, who are the judges? You have the top judge, Yahweh. All right. Then you have his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So they whitewashed that. And then they whitewashed the angels and turned them into little naked white little babies. OK, it says, if not. All right, because you'll have people that'll argue with us and said, oh, you're making this up. You did. So, OK, if we're making it up, if it's not the so-called white people today, then where and who is he? Who is the person that was given charge over the earth and that completely covered up history? OK, we'll wait for that answer. So that's the question. Who is the person? If it's not the Edomites, the so-called white man, beginning with the top banking elite families today, if it's not them, OK, that have control of all resources, that control the news media outlet, that controls the narrative, that controls the money, that controls the corporations and all of the above. If it ain't them, who is it? Right. So now, all right, let's continue.
Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy.
Exactly. Hold on.
White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel.
Bingo. OK, he said claiming, the Edomites claiming to be of the tribe of Israel. And why is that? Because it goes back to them wanting the birthright. OK, it goes back to them wanting the birthright. Now, when you deal with that, because the scripture says that they will get control of the land. Let's get this in real quick. Ezekiel 36. All right, I'm going to start at the top. It says, also, thou son of man, prophesying unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. And who is Israel? Number one arch enemy, Esau, Edom. Okay. They have possession of the ancient high places, man. Verse 3, therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. And are we not a possession unto them, starting with the Edomites today? Of course we are, man. Okay. They rule over us through our social security number, birth certificate, which is a slave system, man. Okay. It says, we have become a residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers and are an infamy of the people. Right. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, to the mountains and to the hills and to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. All right. The word Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. All right. So the Lord is pissed off at all the heathen and mostly Idumea, which is Edom. Why? Continue to read. Which have appointed my land. What is the Lord's land? The land of Israel today. Okay. And these heathen and Idumea, they have appointed the land, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh's land, into what? Their possession, with the joy of all their heart and with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Now, what's to lead up to all of that, when you get, because Yahweh Shai prophesied, let's get Luke 21. And what did he say about the land? All right. Dealing with the ancient Roman Empire, Luke 21:20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And this is speaking of between 66 to 70 AD, when Titus came along with Vespasian. All right. And what is Flavius? All right. When they sacked the temple. It says, verse 21, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. That's why you had the southern kingdom at that time, because the northern kingdom, majority of them was already in the Western hemisphere. OK, which is America today. But during this time, going back then, what did they do? The southern kingdom, they fled into the mountains. The majority of them went north, but the rest of the bulk of them went into the mountains in Africa. And you can get that when you read what's the author's name? Rudolph Windsor, a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu. All right. If I said his name correctly. But it says here, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem, all right, shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, the other nations, the heathen nations, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now we are living that prophecy out, because we are at the end, the time of the Gentiles ending. OK, because, see, the scriptures tells you that a bastard, let's get that in Zephaniah 3:9. All right. It's actually Salakia. Might be, hold on. It's been a while since I brought this precept out. Zephaniah 9:6, Salakia. All right. It says, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, man. All right. So a bastard is currently living in our land. All right. We're now the Israelites. It was said that we are going to be brought back to our land when the Messiah returns. That's how you know that the people that are dwelling in the land today, they're not the true people. Now notice, going back to Ezekiel 36, it said what? That the heathen, okay, as well, the residue of the heathen, they have appointed the Heavenly Father's land into their possession, because before the bankers, along with Great Britain, because the bankers, they made a deal with Great Britain during World War I, and they said, look, we'll give you America to fight to help you win. And if we do that, we reside the rights to hold the land of Palestine. And that's what they did. All right. Which brings you to 1948, the Balfour Declaration. All right. And to prove that, when you go, all you got to do is go to YouTube and look up Jacob Rothschild. And out of his own mouth, he tells you that they're the ones that signed that decree to own the land of Israel. All right. So this devil, hey, man. All right. I'm just giving the receipts. All right. You can look all this stuff up all you want, man. All right. But the apostles, they taught us all this, man, through the Spirit. Right. So we got that. Now let's take this back a little bit.
Conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when.
And again, they're claiming to be tribes of Israel. But then you have to we'll have to ask the question, how did that all come about? Well, it started during the Maccabean period, when you had a man by the name of John Hyrcanus. All right. John Hyrcanus, when you look it up, let's look it up real quick. He was responsible for force. Let's type this in. John Har. Right. So I spelled his last name incorrectly, but it says here, the forced conversion of the Idumeans, Edomites, to Judaism by John Hyrcanus between 135 to 105 BCE is the only such recorded case of the forced conversion to Judaism. On the other hand, Jews have been the victims of forced conversion throughout their history. You see that? So there you have it. Now, fast forward, after that conversion, they went into the, they were living up in Russia. And then you had this right here. All right. Known as the Khazars. Now, this is legit. You can look this up. This is from University of Cambridge, one of the most prestige universities of our time. Right now, there's a letter called the Schechter letters. All right. And these Schechter letters confirm the Khazars of 915 AD are definitely descendants of Amalek, head tribe of Edom. All right. Now, what happened was this person named here has died, Ibn Shaprut, okay, an Amalekite diplomat to Islamic. Basically, he was searching for the lost tribes of Israel. So when he came up into the land of the Khazarian Empire, which is located in Ukraine today, all right, he basically, sent them a letter, sent an ambassador unto a man by the name of King Bulan. All right. Now, King Bulan, he was the one that was responsible. He was a Khazar king, and he was responsible for writing a letter back to Hasdai, stating that they were the Jews. They were Jewish. OK. And basically, they lied and said that they were not only the Jews, but that their forefathers go back to Ashkenaz, which he said that they were of the sons of Japhet. And you can look up the letter. It's called King Bulan's Correspondence. All you got to do is just Google that, find a PDF, and read his response to Hasdai. So they told on themselves there, because the true Jews, the Israelites, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you come from the line of Shem. You cannot call yourself a Jew and then say out of the same sentence that you also extend from the sons of Japhet, because Japhet was the brother of Shem. The Jews didn't come out of Japhet. They came out of Shem. They're Shemites, not Japhites. All right. So it says here The Schechter letters are a collection of papers found in Cairo, Geniza, and has a Khazar correspondence from 950 AD between Hasdai, foreign secretary to Caliph of Cordoba, and Joseph Kangan of the Khazars. And it gives both an account of the Khazar conversion to Judaism and of its progress in subsequent generations, as well as details of the fall of the Khazar Empire in 969 AD. And like I said, this information is out there, but it's a little hard to find. You got to dig it up, but it's out there on the internet. Now, when you go through the timeline, all right, 2300 BC, Amalek born, 200 BC lived in North Edom, all right, South Palestine during Abraham's time, Genesis the 14th chapter. 1400 BC fought against Moses, Exodus 17 and 8, all right. That's why a memorial was written to remember Amalek and to put him up out of the from up under heaven, right? So say here 1500 AD became the Caucasus race known as the Serpent people. 500 AD became the Khazar people of the Khazarian Empire, pagan nation, right? And then 740 AD converted to Judaism under Kagan Bulan order for political reasons. And then 915 AD, Hasdai and Kangan Joseph write the Khazar correspondence. All right. Now, I got a video here. Let's check this out.
And many, many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who were they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes, the so-called self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of Bible history. Research also revealed that the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe were never Semites, are not Semites now, nor can they ever be regarded as Semites at any future time by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, he goes off there because these Edomites, which were known as Khazars back then, they are Shemites because they are of the son of they are the sons of under Isaac, all right, which Isaac was the son of Abraham, all right, and Abraham came from the line of Shem through Seth, all right, Salakia, not Seth. What am I saying? Let me say that again. When you follow Shem, you had Arphaxad, Methuselah, all the way down to Abram, all right, whose name was later changed to Abraham. So under that line from Shem, all right, Esau is a Shemite. OK, so this is where he goes off because the father determines the seed. All right. So the Edomites, they definitely are Shemites. All right. Just wanted to bring that point out. So now let's come back here.
I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries.
And there you go. And yes, it was whitewashed over centuries because they came in under the Balfour Declaration and they declared it the state of Israel to be a a state of its own in May of 1948. All right. And around that same time, you had a man.
As the government.
Let me see.
So the white man is an.
Salakia. You had a man. Let me see if I have it here in my photos. If not, it's all good. Salakia. Let me see. I don't know if I have it. Yeah, I don't have it here. But basically, long story short, all right, these people, okay, these people here, they are not the people. Okay. Now, what I was actually looking for was you had a let me just type them in Google. I should have just did that. You had a man by the name of former Egyptian President Nasser. All right. president. And this is what he said. All right, one of his quotes. All right. Let me see. Yeah. So this was Gamal Abdel Nasser, the second president of the United Arab Republic, formerly president of the Republic of Egypt. Now, this is what he said at the bottom. It says the Europeans claiming to be Jews are nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. The late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated on television, "You, the Jews, will never be able to live here in peace because you left here black but came back white. We cannot accept you." 1952. Look it up yourself. Now, they've done a very good job hiding that interview, but this was he actually said this on live television. It's hard to find it, but he did say it. Okay. Once again, we're just collecting the receipts and linking it up with biblical prophecy, because these are the same people. When you go to the Apocrypha, let's get 1 Maccabees 3. All right. These Edomites, known as Greeks, in verse 48, it says, "And laid open the book of the law, which is the scriptures, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images." And that's what they did. Okay. All right. They paint the likeness of their images, man. They did that. All right. And you have to understand, man. All right. So that's where we at. So let me get back to this.
I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, it's a loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
From the Renaissance.
oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth.
Right. And that goes back to let's get it. Revelation 20. All right. Revelation 20 and 7. "And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan, Esau, Edom, pursuant to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8, all right, whose coming and workings is after Satan, all right, because he is the physical counterpart here on the planet Earth." So when it talks about Satan, it's not talking about literal spiritual demon Satan, but it's speaking of a Satan-like man, such as the Edomites. It says Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So that's when they came down from the Caucasus Mountains. We looked up the Moors, which was our people, versus the wild man tapestry, right? And that's how they came down. And then they came into power, okay? And then they ruled the first powerful family during the time of the Renaissance, was known as the Borgia family. All right. And then you had Cristobal Colon, all right, who you know him as Christopher Columbus. All right. And the story goes on. That's how they came back into power, man. And then they're currently ruling today. All right. So, yeah.
I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
And there you go. And that's what happened, because he knew that the Northern Kingdom was over in the Western Hemisphere, man, which that's another whole topic for a different day. But the point is this, man. All right. At the end of the day, you devils have, and yeah, you're lacking. All right. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want this lesson to go too long, but I pray that this was edifying and it's on to the next, Lord's will. Shalom.